Hello, welcome everybody. We're using the hashtag Youth Suicide Prevention for this session, and welcome you all to this first of the Outlive webinar series of sessions. This is a four-part a monthly webinar that is being run by the Outlive project, which is a joint project of It's Okay to Talk Youth Mental Health Program at Sangat, the Center for Mental Health Law and Policy of the Indian Law Society, and a design consultancy, which is a partner on this project. This series aims to provide young people and mental health community and policymakers with perspectives and lived experience on preventing suicide among young people. So over the next 4 months, what we are hoping to do with this series is to bring some discussions around suicide prevention and youth mental health experts on how we can prevent youth suicides by addressing social and structural factors that seem to disproportionately impact young people in India. So, without much further ado, I'm going to introduce the speakers. Before I do that, let me just tell you that there is a lot of helpline information and resources which are available in the YouTube description box. If we are talking about suicide and preventing suicide, and I know that this could be triggering for some people, if you feel that you're feeling triggered by any of the discussions, feel free to stop the video, look at the helpline numbers that are there, and if you still need any help or assistance, please get in touch with any one of us. So we have a fantastic panel of speakers today. The first speaker I'm really pleased to introduce is Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar, who's the best way to describe Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar is that she is India's foremost suicide prevention researcher, has been doing this for many decades. Lakshmi is the founder of Sneha, an NGO in Chennai, which works on suicide prevention. And she's also a member of the WHO's International Network for Suicide Research and Prevention. The next panelist is Deepa Pawar, who started working with young people in communities since she was 14 years. Deepa is the founder director of Anubhuti, a feminist organization working to build youth leadership towards a more just, equitable, and democratic society. Over 20 years, Deepa has worked with women, communities, NGOs, and colleges, as well as with local and state governments. And Deepa has won many national and international awards, and I'm not going to list all of them here. You can look up Deepa's profile, and I'm really glad to welcome Deepa to this program. The third panelist is Divya Kandukuri, who is a anti-caste activist and founder of Blue Dawn, a support group and facilitator of accessible mental health services for the Bahujan communities. She's also a freelance journalist and a video producer whose work lies at the intersection of caste, gender, pop culture, and mental health. And welcome to Divya to this panel. And the final panelist is Apurva Sapra, who's a practicing psychologist who has worked both remotely and in remote areas. She's currently the thematic director of mental health and psychosocial support at Jan Sahas, a grassroots organization that works on sexual violence and forced labor. So welcome you all to this panel. And what I'm going to now do is, without wasting much time, given that we have hardly an hour and we've got some really brilliant people here who could be talking about this for hours if given the opportunity, I'm going to jump into the questions straight away. My first question really is to Lakshmi. Lakshmi, I don't need to tell you this, but for the benefit of the audience, suicide is the leading cause of death among young people aged 15 to 30 years. It's the first rank for women and second rank for men. Can you explain some of the factors which make young people more vulnerable to suicide, attempted suicide, and specifically in India's context? And that's first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, what has been the impact of the COVID pandemic on youth suicides in India? And maybe you can take one question after the other. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Soumitra. It's really is a pleasure to be a part of this amazing panel. Now, to talk about why young people are dying by suicide, more so in India, it is not that India is an exception. World over, even in countries where the suicide rates are coming down, the suicide of young people is going up. Even in the United States or in other countries where the other suicides are coming down, the youth suicides are going up. India traditionally has been a young population, and we have always had the maximum number of suicides among the young people. Between 15 and 19, world over, suicide is the number one cause for mortality in young girls, and number two in boys. And if you look at Indian statistics, actually more young women are dying by suicide than even due to maternal mortality. And if you look at the amount of exposure, financial support, everything being done for maternal mortality and absolutely negligent on suicide prevention, one wonders why this phenomenon of suicide, where we lose almost about 235 to 230,000 people by suicide, and 60% of them are below the age of 30, does not warrant any program, any interventions, or any commitment to change that. That's the sad story about India. So why do young people die more by suicides? The question has been, there are various reasons for why this is happening. And in our country, definitely it is more women, more young women dying by suicides. If you look at the graph of India, till 30, the suicide rate of a young woman is much higher than the men. And then after the age of 30, it drops down by almost 50%. But the men remain steady. So in the end, it would look as though more men die by suicide. But the fact is, at below the age of 30, it is more women who are dying by suicide. And that is a loss not only to the family, but it is a loss to the entire community, nation, everything. So if you look at why young people first are dying by suicide, the fact is that there are three reasons which you can attribute. One is, it is at the adolescent age, many of the mental health issues, gender issues, all that comes about, and they have less difficulty in handling these the emotional regulation is not perfectly developed. So if you really look at the evolution, in these years, because of better nutrition, better thing, we are able to attain sexual, menarche happens at 11, 12, whereas it was 15 before. And boys also, the physical maturity happens. But for mental maturity to happen, it is still later. So there is a disconnect between your physical maturity and your mental maturity, and you have difficulty in handling these emotions. If you want to look at it biologically, that's one explanation for that. The other biological explanation for that is the fact that majority of the psychological issues like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, it starts manifesting around adolescence. Okay, so that could be something if you want to look at it biologically. Now, if you want to look at it psychologically, it is also the time when a young person is finding their own personality, finding their own space. They have to grapple with their own changes in their physical and mental health. They have to deal with the peer pressures. And honestly, it is a time of rapid transformation, rapid growth, and little skills. So that also causes a huge problem for the person. And if you look at it sociologically, times are changing extremely fast now. If you really look at it, what you know about 1 year before becomes redundant now. So things are so fast now. So anybody, when you have a stress, you need time to assimilate the stress, get some comfort, and then growth happens, and then the next stress comes. But now there is no time for that period when you feel confident after handling the stress, and there is no latent period. No, So it is one stress after another, one stress after another, which causes a lot of problem because of the environmental stress. So so it is a biological, psychological, social, and even a cultural problem. For example, many of the youngsters now, because of the exposure and things like that, they are exposed to whatever is happening around the world, whereas what they have at home is probably different from what they are used to seeing in their televisions or YouTubes or whatever it is. And the biggest challenge now is the social challenges. The fact that, how do I say it? This is an instant generation. People want things instantly. We are used to instant coffee, instant message, instant everything. But actually in life, for example, if you are talking about career or relationship, those don't happen instantly. You have to work at it. You have to take failures, and you have to see how you can handle that. So the problem is, when you are used to having things quickly, when there is some kind of a stress, and when there is some kind of an impediment to your goals, impediment to your aspirations and things like that, you are not able to handle it effectively. So this, I would say, I'm old enough to say that this generation definitely has difficulty in handling failures, and that is something which we need to inculcate right from the beginning. That it is how you handle a failure is what makes you a success, and not how you handle your success. It is how you handle your failures, and those kind of life lessons need to be taught from the beginning. Riga, what was your second question, Soumitra?
My only second question was that how has the
COVID? Yes, COVID has actually impacted the young people quite substantially, because many of the young people's education is at a kind of a pause. Their future career is at a kind of a pause, and people who are in relationships are also in a pause, because they are not able to continue the relationship or find out whether this is a relationship for them or not. And the problem now is that many of them are definitely one definite factor which I find in particularly in very young people between the ages of 14 and 19 is quite a substantial, about 30-40 of them, 40% of them have become addicted to gaming. Okay, and many of these games are produced which are really quite addictive. For example, I had one boy who is in class 11, 12, who never looked at TV, who never looked at a phone, he was a footballer. He represented the Tamil Nadu schools in football. He was a complete athlete. He was a good student. He was out on the ground all the time, and every time the parents had to pressurize him to come home and study. And he was a school captain. He was a Tamil Nadu under 19 football captain, and so on. And this pandemic happened and everything stopped. So he started playing games. He first started playing football in the laptop. And then it slowly changed to Minecraft. Then it changed to TikTok. It changed to, what is it, Find Me or something like that. So, and he became completely addicted to it. So now when the players, when the coach is asking him to come and play football, he's refusing. So the parents literally had to drag him away from the football to go, from the laptop to go and play football. And he's not interested in football now. He just wants to play, So these are all very addictive games, and these have a tremendous impact on, it has an impact on their education. It has an impact on their social relationships. It has an impact on their family relationships also. And the final result is they are unhappy, depressed, anxious. They eat at odd times, sleep at odd times. They develop all kinds of physical health issues, mental health issues. They are hooked to laptop. They are hooked to games. And some of them have spent lakhs of fathers' hard-earned money on gambling on the laptop. So this has actually affected the children more, though it is not visible outside. But they, I think, are the most vulnerable, in their most vulnerable group, at their most vulnerable time, this has really had a massive impact on them.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I'm going to, you made a point about why suicides don't get the attention of policymakers. And I'm going to park that question and come back to it later on, because I think it's an extremely important question. You raise a very important point that if suicides are so significant in this country, why are our policymakers and why are our health budgets and other budgets not attending to that or addressing that? I'm going to turn to Deepa now, and wanted to ask Deepa. Deepa Anubhuti has been working towards empowering communities and young people on mental health. So I just wanted to hear about some of your experiences of how the pandemic has affected young people you work with. In particular, I wanted to know, what is Anubhuti's strategy for providing support to young people? What are the challenges that you faced in reaching out to young people? And any past or existing suicide prevention measures that you've been using in your work. So Deepa, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Soumitra. पैंडेमिक इस तरह का एक कठिन परिस्थिति था, एक तरह का स्थिति ऐसा था कि अचानक सारी जो रेलचेल है वो ठप हो गई, और सबसे पहले जो बंद हो गई वो थी एजुकेशन सिस्टम, जो सबसे पहले शट डाउन हो गई। और हमें पता है कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम का जो एक वो पीरियड था, जो एग्जाम होने का पीरियड था, बच्चों का काफी आपस में डिस्कशन करने का जो पीरियड था, वो अचानक से स्टॉप हो गया और बच्चे जो है वो लॉकडाउन हो गए। और यूथ बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में जो हमारा अनुभूति का जो काम चलता है वो एडोलेसेंट से लेकर यूथ एज 30-35 तक भी चलता है, और ऐसे कम्युनिटीज के साथ काम चलता है जो सोशल हायरार्कीज में ऑलरेडी काफी डिप्राइव्ड है, जैसे नोमैडिक ट्राइब हो, एसटीज हो, एससी हो, ग्रामीण युवा हो, या असंगठित क्षेत्रों में काम करने वाले जो युवा हो। तो हमने नजदीकी इसके साथ ये अनुभव किया कि कम्युनिकेशन के जो माध्यम है वो उन तक पहुंचाना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है, क्योंकि जब पूरी दुनिया लॉकडाउन के लिए प्रिपेयर हो रही थी, जो एक प्रिविलेज कम्युनिटी लॉकडाउन को समझने की कोशिश कर रही थी, तब ग्राउंड युवाओं के पास इसकी बहुत ही कम जानकारी थी। वो अपने अपने तरीके से इसका जो अर्थ है वो बना रहे थे, और उस तरह से अपने सेफ्टी मेजर्स और अपनी चर्चाओं के विषय जो है वो उस तरह से डेवलप कर रहे थे। अनुभूति करके हमें सबसे पहले जरूरी लगा कि उनको पता होना चाहिए कि उनके साथ कौन है, क्या सिचुएशन है, ये सिचुएशन में वो किस तरह से अपने घर का, अपने घर में रहने वाले रिलेटिव्स का, अपने फ्रेंड्स, सारे लोगों का किस तरह से वो ध्यान रख सकते हैं, और कब उनको सपोर्ट की जरूरत लगेगी, कब उनको किसी को आवाज देना है, कब किसी का सपोर्ट मांगना है, ये उन तक कम्युनिकेशन पहुंचाना हमें बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी लगा। और जैसे ही लॉकडाउन हुआ, हमने ऑनलाइन वर्चुअल जो है ट्रेनिंग यूथ के साथ जो है वो शुरू कर दी है, लगातार किए, काफी बड़ी मात्रा में किए। अनुभूति ने जो है वो रिलीफ वर्क भी करीबन महाराष्ट्र के 15 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में करीबन 5,000 नोमैडिक ट्राइब फैमिलीज तक पहुंचाया। तो हमने हमारा जो मेन कम्युनिकेशन चेन है वो युवा और यंग विमेन के दौरान उस फैमिली में पहुंचने के लिए प्रायोरिटी किया। तो जब भी हम कोई भी सर्विसेज दे रहे थे, फिर वो फूड हो, वो मेडिकल रिसोर्सेस हो, वो विथ एक बेसिक काउंसलिंग के साथ उनको दे रहे थे। और ये युवाओं के साथ एक टीओटी करके कि कोरोना के इस कठिन काल में जो है, किसी का भी अगर इंडिफरेंट बिहेवियर हो, आपको अगर कहीं पे लगता है कि यहाँ पे जो बर्ताव है वो चेंज हुआ है, किसी को सपोर्ट की जरूरत है, वहां पे युवा अपना इनिशिएटिव ले। इसलिए जहां पे भी कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग करने की जरूरत पड़ रही थी, वहां पे हम लगातार कर रहे थे। हमने ये देखा, क्योंकि हमारे काफी सारे युवा जो है वो वर्किंग है, मतलब घर में वो फाइनेंशियली कंट्रीब्यूशन करते हैं, और अचानक जब लोग अपने जॉब जो है वो छूट गए, या लोगों को अपना फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस किस तरह से डील करना है ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, तो एक तरह का मॉब इन्फ्लुएंस हमें कम्युनिटी में नजर आ रहा था। और कम्युनिटी के अंदर जो ये कड़वाहट थी वो अभी वैसे कि फैमिली के अंदर जाके जो है उसका रूट पहुंच रहा था। तो हमने काफी कोशिश की कि हमने पेरेंट और यूथ के बीच में किस तरह के रिलेशन हो सकते हैं, हमारी समझ कहाँ पे बढ़ सकती है, इस तरह के कई सारे वर्कशॉप वर्कशॉप ऑर्गेनाइज किए। और लॉकडाउन के भीतर हम कम्युनिटी मोबिलाइजेशन करने के अंदर लिमिटेशन आ गए थे, हम बहुत ज्यादा रीच आउट डायरेक्ट जाके ग्राउंड पे नहीं कर सकते थे। तो हमने एक कैंपेन ही चलाया जहाँ पे हमने कॉलेजेस को आइडेंटिफाई किए, जो कॉलेजेस के साथ हमारे रेगुलर काम चलते हैं और उनके पास रेडीमेड मोबिलाइज किए हुए युवा होते हैं। और हमने ठाणे डिस्ट्रिक्ट और इवन जहां जहां से भी हमें इनवाइट किया गया, और खासकर ठाणे डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर कॉलेजेस के साथ मेंटल हेल्थ, पैंडेमिक और यूथ सुसाइडल थॉट हो या एंजाइटी हो, नर्वसनेस हो, एक तरह का डिस्ट्रेस एटीट्यूड हो, इसको लेकर कॉलेजेस में कई सारे सेशंस किए जहाँ पे युवा उनके बहुत छोटे छोटे सवाल हमें पूछते थे। जैसे युवा हमें कहते थे कि दीदी वाईफाई समय पे नहीं चलता है तो हम हाइपर हो जाते हैं। तो जो चीजें हमें रेगुलर जिंदगी में बहुत कॉमन लगती है, पैंडेमिक में वो चीजें लोगों को ज्यादा गंभीरता से उनके पास जो है वो पहुंच रही थी। और बिल्कुल जैसे लक्ष्मी जी ने कहा कि रिलेशनशिप के इशू है, क्योंकि एजुकेशन सिस्टम जब शट डाउन हो जाता है तो कई बार रिलेशनशिप जो है वो कॉलेज के प्रीमाइसेस में होती है। लेकिन वहां पे हमारा ऐसे अनुभव है कि कम्युनिकेशन अगर हो, युवाओं को अगर पता हो कि उनके साथ कौन है, तो युवा बेहतर तरीके से खुद के साथ जो है वो काम कर सकते हैं। हमने ऑनलाइन काउंसलिंग सेशंस लेना जो है वो शुरू किया। दूसरा हमने किया कि जो एग्जिस्टिंग हेल्पलाइंस है, जिस तरह से आईकॉल का हेल्पलाइन है और जिनके काम चलते हैं, वो पहले हमने चेक किया और फिर वो युवाओं के साथ जो है वो जोड़ा। दूसरा एक इम्पोर्टेंट काम हमने किया कि कई सारे जो है प्रसार प्रचार के माध्यम जो है वो उपलब्ध हो रहे थे, जानकारी जा रही थी, छोटे छोटे वीडियो क्लिप लोगों तक जा रहे थे। लेकिन हमने एक काम इस तरह से किया कि जिस गांव में हमें जानकारी पहुंचानी है, उसी गांव के पहचाने हुए चेहरों को इकट्ठा कर कर हमने फिल्म बनाए है। क्योंकि उस गांव को पता हो कि जब हम स्क्रॉल करते हैं, तब जब हमें हमारा पहचान का चेहरा दिखता है तो लोग रुकते हैं और लोग सुनते हैं। तो इसका हमें काफी उस स्ट्रैटेजी का फायदा हुआ कि हमने ऐसे लोगों को पार्टिसिपेट किया वीडियो के जरिए से, वीडियो के फॉर्म से, जहाँ पे लोगों को उनके अपने चेहरे नजर आए और उनकी लैंग्वेज उनको समझे। क्योंकि नोमैडिक, एसटी हो या ग्रामीण युवा हो, इनके डायलेक्ट बहुत अलग अलग है। तो कभी कभी बहुत प्रमाण भाषा सुन के जो है वो बहुत कानों को आदत नहीं होती है, तो वो फिर निगलेक्ट कर देते हैं। हमने स्ट्रिक्ट टेस्ट किए और कोशिश की कि सारे सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के मेजर्स को फॉलो करते हुए डिजास्टर का जो एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, जो मेंटल हेल्थ से जुड़ता है, जो जेंडर इक्विटी से जुड़ता है, वो हम एंटी डीएनटी कम्युनिटी तक लेके गए। सिर्फ कोरोना पैंडेमिक के अंदर मेडिकल टर्म से ही नहीं, तो जैसे हमारे यूथ कहते थे कि हमें पहली बार पता चला है कि ये घर के अंदर हमें जगह नहीं है। हम काम के सिलसिले में बाहर होते थे, हमारा काफी समय एजुकेशन के लिए बाहर जाता था, लेकिन हम काफी ऊब चुके हैं, क्योंकि घर के किसी भी चीजों के ऊपर हम हमारा राइट्स नहीं बता सकते। तो यूथ जो है वो दिखने के लिए बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग एक घटक दिखता है, एक समुदाय दिखता है, जिससे कम्युनिटी की बहुत अपेक्षाएं होती है, एक कलेक्टिव एक्सपेक्टेशंस होते हैं, जहाँ पे युवा एक बर्डन फील करते हैं। और युवा हमसे शेयर कर रहे थे कि वो किस किस तरह के बर्डन जो है फील करते हैं। ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन जो है वहां पे बहुत सारा समय जा रहा था, लेकिन युवाओं को जो एक फिजिकल सेटअप में बैठकर पढ़ने की आदत लगी है, वहां पे बहुत वर्चुअल फॉर्मेट उनको इरिटेट कर रहा था। तो ऐसे कई सारे चीजों को लेकर हमने काम किया है, जहाँ पे हम डिजास्टर को लेकर उनसे बात करें, फिल्म मेकिंग करके बात करें। दूसरा है कि हमने युवाओं को मोटिवेट किया ड्यूरिंग पैंडेमिक कि वो अपने मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में लिखना शुरू करें, शेयर करना शुरू करें उसको, जिसे हम बोलते हैं ना कि बहुत अजूबा ना करें। एक हमने काम किया कि जहां भी हमने ऑनलाइन इंटरवेंशन किया है, ड्यूरिंग रिलीफ वर्क हो, ड्यूरिंग काउंसलिंग हो, टीओटी हो, ट्रेनिंग फॉर ट्रेनर हो, वहां पे हमने बोला कि इमीडिएट नेगेटिव मैसेजेस पास करना हमें रुकाना है। हमारे पास जो भी नेगेटिव मैसेजेस है, जो अफवाहें है, उसका हमें चेन सिस्टम नहीं बनना है, वो हमें है वहां पे रुकवाना है। तो ड्यूरिंग पैंडेमिक एक बहुत ही ज्यादा, जिसे हम कहे कि एक्चुअली पर्सनली भी मुझे बहुत चैलेंज था, क्योंकि मेरा बेबी बस 2 महीने का था। टीम जो है अनुभूति की बहुत छोटी है, एक 5-6 लोग मिलके काम करते हैं। लेकिन अभी जब हम उन स्ट्रेटेजीज के बारे में जब बैठ के सोचते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि जिस फोर्सफुली पेंडेमिक में हमने जो स्ट्रैटेजी डेवलप कर पाया, वो शायद बहुत बैठकर सोचते तो शायद ना होती। जिस तरह से हमने रैपिडली काम किया, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट काम किया कि कम्युनिकेशन। युवा जो है वो जरूर सोच सकते हैं, बस उनको पता होना चाहिए कि उनके साथ कौन है। कम्युनिटी में ये माहौल हमने निर्माण किया कि वो किसी को कॉल कर सकते हैं, वो किसी के साथ बात कर सकते हैं। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट, जब लोग फूड के बारे में टेंशन में थे, जॉब के बारे में टेंशन में थे, तब हमने उनको एक इंडिकेटर और परोसा कि आपको आपके मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में अवेयर रहना है। हो सकता है कि ये आपकी तकलीफ बढ़ाए, ये चीजें आपको बहुत अनसुनी है, आपको लगे कि ये आपकी रूटीन की बातें नहीं है, लेकिन ये चीजें आपके ऊपर असर कर सकती है। तो अगर कभी भी असर करे तो कई सारे रिसोर्सेस है जो आपके इर्द गिर्द है। हमने लिखने का काम काफी किया, क्योंकि नोमैडिक ट्राइब और ये सारे कम्युनिटी को लेकर बहुत ज्यादा डेटा गैप है रिसर्च के अंदर भी। तो हमने बहुत ज्यादा कोशिश की कि हम ऐसे कम्युनिटीज के बारे में लिखे, ऐसे माहौल में लिखे जहाँ पे एक जो इंटेलेक्चुअल अथॉरिटीज है या इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रोफेसर एकेडमिक लोग है वो हमें सपोर्ट करे, इनडायरेक्टली डायरेक्टली जिस तरह से भी हो। क्योंकि जितने भी केसेस हम खुद हैंडल कर रहे थे या भेज रहे थे, थोड़ी ये कड़वाहट ये भी थी कि जैसे हमें मन को चाहिए वैसे प्रोफेशनलिस्ट नहीं मिल रहे थे, काफी गैप भी नजर आ रहा था ड्यूरिंग पैंडेमिक। तो हमने लिखने का ज्यादा काम किया, लगातार ऑनलाइन सीरीज हमने जो है वो मेंटल हेल्थ को लेकर अलग अलग कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रखे। जैसे मेंटल हेल्थ एंड लॉ को लेकर रखे थे, मेंटल हेल्थ इन यूथ, मेंटल हेल्थ इन SRHR, रिलेशनशिप, लव अट्रैक्शन, और खासकर अनुभूति जो है वो यूथ को लेकर ही काम करता है। तो वो हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी रही कि हमारे पास काफी यूथ थे, हमने करीबन ऑनलाइन 2000 यूथ के साथ, उससे भी ज्यादा जो है कम्युनिटी के साथ ट्रेनिंग जो है वो कंडक्ट किया। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट हमने किया कि एडवोकेसी के प्रोसेस के अंदर जो भी MLA से हमारी बात हो रही थी, फिर नीलमताई गोरे हो, बच्चू कडू हो, वहां पे, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि नोमैडिक ट्राइब ये शेल्टरलेस भी है, तो पैंडेमिक इस तरह का कंडीशन था कि शायद मैं आपको सच में इतना टाइम इनफ नहीं है कि मैं आपको बता पाऊँ कि कितनी गंभीरता थी। क्योंकि कई जगहों पे तो उनकी बस्तियां तोड़ने के नोटिस भेजे जा रहे हैं, तो कुछ कम्युनिटी के लिए, और उन कम्युनिटी के यूथ के लिए पैंडेमिक सिर्फ पैंडेमिक था ही नहीं, वो कई सारे एंगल से जो था वो एक्चुअली जीने मरने का सवाल था कि हम रोटी रोजी चलाए। क्योंकि आपको पता है कि इस तरह की कम्युनिटीज ना ही राशन स्टॉक करते हैं, ना ही असेट स्टॉक करते हैं, डेली वेजेस पे जीते हैं। और पूरा जो पैंडेमिक था वो इस तरह के कम्युनिटी का सीजन था अपनी रोटी रोजी के लिए असेट इकट्ठा करने का, जो भी चुनिंदा असेट है, और वो एकदम लॉकडाउन में चला गया। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि एक तरह का डिस्ट्रेस था, इवन गुस्सा भी था। तो आपको अगर पता हो कि महाराष्ट्र के कई इलाकों में जो है वो मॉब लिंचिंग के केसेस भी हुए NTDNT के साथ, तो इमीडिएट सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करना, इमीडिएट एडवोकेसी के लिए ग्रुप से जुड़ जाना या खुद लीड लेना, ऐसे अलग अलग क्राइटेरिया में जो है वो अनुभूति का काम रहा है। लेकिन यस, मैं ये एक पक्का कहूंगी कि हम काम इसीलिए कर पाए क्योंकि वो काम का कंटिन्यूएशन हमारे पास्ट में था, वो अचानक करना बहुत मुश्किल होता। और सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट कि हमारे जो यूथ थे वो मेंटल हेल्थ के कॉन्टेक्ट से परिचित थे, तो हमें उनके साथ एक 3 साल का 4 साल का लगातार वर्क जो है वो चला था उनके साथ। जैसे हम जेंडर को लेकर बात करते हैं तो वो उससे अवेयर थे। तो हमारा जो कैपिटल हमने मेंटल हेल्थ के काम का जो बनाया था वो हमें पैंडेमिक में बहुत ज्यादा काम आया। हाँ, बस एक मुझे लगा कि मेंटल हेल्थ पैंडेमिक में एक ऊपरी स्तर पर बहुत ज्यादा रिकॉग्नाइज्ड हुआ कि यहाँ पे बात करनी चाहिए, लेकिन एक ग्राउंड के अंदर जो है वो मेंटल हेल्थ उस तरह से लिमिटेशंस रहे, लिटरेसी के भी लिमिटेशंस रहे, क्योंकि सारे लोगों के डायलेक्ट अलग थे, लैंग्वेजेस अलग है, घूमने फिरने वाले कम्युनिटीज है, काफी पावरलेस है। तो वो कई सारे लिमिटेशन जो है वो हमने अपनी अपनी तरह जो है वो काम करने की कोशिश की। दूसरा है कि कुछ लोगों के लिए इकोनॉमिकल जोन शट डाउन थे, लेकिन अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर के जो लोग हैं जो इन कम्युनिटी के साथ जुड़े हैं वो छुप के काम कर रहे थे, और छुप के कई सारे काम जो थे वो शुरू भी थे। तो एक चैलेंज जो था वो औरतों से ये भी आ रहा था कि उनके वर्किंग स्पेसेस जो है ना वो सेफ नहीं है, और ये जो औरतें थी वो यंग विमेन थी। तो हमने राइट्स को पहुंचाने के भी वहां पे काम किए। तो काम की जगह पर होने वाला लैंगिक हिंसाचार के अगेंस्ट जो कानून है, पॉश एक्ट, कई जगह पे मतलब औरतें बोल रही थी कि उनके जो पार्टनर है उनका एडिक्शन का प्रमाण बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ा है। और हम सब परिचित है कि एडिक्शन का प्रमाण जब भी बढ़ता है उसका भुगतान औरतों को कई मायने में जो है वो चुकाना पड़ता है। तो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के प्रमाण थे, चाइल्ड मैरिज के जो केसेस है हमने वो नजदीकी के साथ हैंडल किए, काउंसलिंग किए, फैमिली को समझाया, जहाँ पे नहीं हुआ वहां पे डायरेक्ट CWC से इंटरवेंशन किया। तो मैं कहूंगी कि डायरेक्ट कम्युनिटी इंटरवेंशन कम्युनिटी लीडर को तैयार करना, युवाओं को तैयार करना, लगातार उनकी ट्रेनिंग करना, जहाँ पे मेंटल हेल्थ एक ऐसा कंपोनेंट है जहाँ पे गलत जानकारी जाने का ऑप्शन नहीं है, वहां पे गलत जानकारी दे ही नहीं सकते हैं, क्योंकि युवा को अगर तैयार करना है तो वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा स्पेसिफिक जानकारी के साथ उनको पहुंचाना जरूरी था। साइबरटेनियसली रिसर्च करना हो, लिखना हो, एडवोकेसी करना हो, और प्रशिक्षण का काम हमने बहुत ज्यादा किया, क्योंकि हमें लगता था कि विदाउट प्रशिक्षण 15-20 मिनट में, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि हेल्पलाइन नंबर्स भी निकले जो काफी काबिले तारीफ था, लेकिन हमारे कम्युनिटी के पास जो है ना वो फोन ही नहीं होते हैं, तो वो हेल्पलाइन तक पहुंचना वहां पे लिमिटेशन था। दूसरा है कि डायलेक्ट अलग है, तो सामने का जो इंसान बोलेगा वो भाषा समझने के लिए थोड़ा सा लिमिटेशन आता है। तो पैंडेमिक तो मतलब एक्सपीरियंस
दीपा, ये
बड़ा करने के
सब
लिए।
ये जो आप बता रहे हो, ये जो
हम्म।
इफेक्ट हुए पैंडेमिक का, इसका आपके कम्युनिटी वर्क में आपने सुइसाइड पे क्या इम्पैक्ट देखा? आपके कम्युनिटीज में सुइसाइड में या अटेम्प्टेड सुइसाइड पे क्या इम्पैक्ट था, आप मुझे
हमारे
बता सकते
कम्युनिटी के भीतर 2 सुसाइड हुए, जो यूथ एज और ओल्ड एज के बीच में थे। डायरेक्ट यूथ के सुसाइड हमने नहीं देखे, और काफी अच्छा हुआ कि नहीं देखे, किसी ने नहीं किया। थोड़े से ओल्ड लोगों के सुसाइड देखे, तो एक मुझे काफी समझ में आता है कि जब मैं देखती हूँ कि सुसाइड को लेकर, सुसाइड अटेम्प्ट तक लोग क्यों जाते हैं, तो हमें कई बार कम्युनिटी को लगता है कि सुसाइड नहीं करेंगे लोग, वो
हैं?
चिंता में है, वो तकलीफ में है, सुसाइड नहीं करेंगे। दूसरा है कि लक्षणों को आइडेंटिफाई करने का उतना लिटरेसी यहाँ पे नहीं है। दूसरा, एक मुझे काफी नजदीकी के साथ लगता है कि जब भी हम कहते हैं कि आप मेंटल हेल्थ सर्विसेज को एक्सेस कर सकते हो, उसके पास पहुंच सकते हो, तो एक सोशल गिल्ट मुझे नजर आता है कि दवाखाने में जाना है, गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल के ओपीडी में जाना है, ओके हेल्पलाइन के ऊपर फोन करना है। तो उसके लिए लोगों की ताकत जो है ना वो बढ़ाने के लिए हम जैसे लोगों को शायद और ज्यादा इंटरवेंशन करने की जरूरत है। युवा जो हमारे हैं, जो हमसे नजदीक के साथ जुड़े हैं, उनके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कुछ कुछ लोगों ने जो है वो सुसाइड किए हैं, कुछ युवाओं ने जो है सुसाइड किए हैं। और वही है कि वो अवेयरनेस नहीं है। हम बहुत ज्यादा सोचते हैं कि हमारे इर्द गिर्द के लोग सुसाइड नहीं करेंगे, जैसे हम सोचते हैं ना कि एक्सीडेंट मेरा नहीं होगा,
हम्म।
किस कोई और करेगा, मेरा नहीं होगा, मेरे घर में नहीं होगा, मेरे चाली में नहीं होगा। और वो जब अचानक से लगता है, तब उसको हैंडल करने के जो है वो मेजर्स कम्युनिटी के पास नहीं है। इसलिए हमें कम्युनिटी मेंटल हेल्थ बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी लगता है। और ठाणे डिस्ट्रिक्ट की अगर बात करें, तो यहाँ पे कई सारे हॉस्पिटल, और हर जगह पे कई सारे हॉस्पिटल वो कोविड-19 डिक्लेयर कर दिए गए थे। तो उस तरह का कुछ लोग गए थे, लेकिन उस तरह का ट्रीटमेंट भी गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल से समय पे नहीं मिल पाता, क्योंकि सिचुएशन ही उस तरह की थी। और अपने मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में बोलने का एक कॉन्फिडेंट जो है वो मतलब निर्माण करना चैलेंज है हमारे पास, मतलब खासकर ग्राउंड कम्युनिटी के पास, क्योंकि इस तरह के टैबूज है कि मैं एकदम चांगली है, मतलब मैं एकदम अच्छी हूँ, थोड़ी सी तकलीफ है,
हम्म।
मैं 2-3 महीने से सो नहीं रही हूँ, लेकिन मैं एकदम अच्छी हूँ,
हम्म।
मुझे बिल्कुल भूख नहीं लगती है, गए 7-8 महीने से मैं एक ही टाइम का खाती हूँ, लेकिन मैं एकदम अच्छी हूँ। तो जो वो अच्छे बने रहने का जो बर्डन है ना युवाओं पे, यंग विमेन पे, वो उनका बहुत लॉस करता है, और वो बिल्कुल सोशल हायरार्की से आता है। इसलिए लगातार इंटरवेंशन, इसलिए हमें प्रशिक्षण बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी लगते हैं, ट्रेनिंग बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी लगता है, क्योंकि बहुत रैपो बिल्ड होता है, लोगों से एक लॉन्ग डिस्कशन होता है। लेकिन यूथ सुसाइड का रेशियो हमारे काम के भीतर हमने कम देखा, लेकिन ये इस कम्युनिटी के भीतर काफी मतलब गंभीर सुसाइड जो है वो हुआ है, और उसका इन्फ्लुएंस कम्युनिटी के अंदर जो है वो नकारात्मक एक भावना जरूर लेके जाता है, क्योंकि लोग अपने अपने तरीके से उसके जो है वो अंदाज निकाल लेते हैं। कड़वाहट की बात यह है कि जब भी कम्युनिटी के अंदर इस तरह के सुसाइड होते हैं ना, और खासकर ग्राउंड कम्युनिटी के अंदर, तो मेन मेंटल हेल्थ का मुद्दा साइड में रहता है, और बाकी सारी चर्चाएं होती है उस सुसाइड को लेकर। पॉलिटिकल एंगल से होती है, अलग कैपिटल को मतलब उसका अलग भांडवलीकरण को लेकर होती है, लेकिन एक्चुअली ट्रीटमेंट की कहाँ जरूरत है, वो स्टेक होल्डर की मानसिकता मुझे तो कम नजर आती है। उस तरह की इच्छा शक्ति एक पॉलिटिकल विल बनाने में शायद हमारे पास चैलेंज है, और उनकी संवेदनशीलता भी कम पड़ती है, क्योंकि हमारे कम्युनिटी में जो भी 2 सुसाइड हुए, वहां पे किसी का भी कम्युनिकेशन नहीं हुआ है आफ्टर सुसाइड।
हम्म।
सुसाइड के मॉब इन्फ्लुएंस को लेकर किसी का अवेयरनेस नहीं है। और जैसे आपने कहा कि सुसाइड विषय भी ऐसा है कि वो ट्रिगर करता है, वो लोगों को अपने अतीत में लेके जाता है, तो वहां पे एक एक्सपर्टीज की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत होती है, और कम्युनिटी के पास वो कैपिटल कम पड़ते हैं,
थैंक
ऐसे
यू।
मुझे लगता है।
थैंक यू
यस।
दीपा। आपने बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस रेज किए, तो आई एम गोइंग टू कम बैक टू वन और टू ऑफ दोस, स्पेशली जो प्रिवेंशन की बात जो आप कह रहे हो कि सुसाइड के लिए जो प्रिवेंशन करना है। बट मैं आऊंगा वापस। मैं आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इन अपूर्वा नाउ इनटू दिस। अपूर्वा, at Jansahas you work with most excluded social groups on the issues of sexual violence, forced labor. So if you could briefly talk about Jansahas work through the two helplines, and what types of calls that you received after the pandemic began. Was there an increase or a decrease in crisis calls from migrant workers, for example, around suicide or feeling suicidal? If you could shed some light on that, would be great, Apurva.
Yes,
Over to you, Apurva.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So definitely, I think when we look at Jansas's work during the pandemic, we do need to look at it at like two levels. One is Jansas's work in general, like the two helplines that you mentioned, and the second is the mental health work that we did. So definitely, when we're talking about Jansas's work, I think most of our program activities kind of were put on hold, and we did shift gears to relief work. And this was basically on ground, monetary support, food ration, and this is alongside our own anxieties, living through a pandemic. And I think what helped us were the two helplines that you're talking about. So we run two toll-free helplines. One is a women's helpline, and the other is a labor helpline. And initially, the kind of calls that we like specifically, I think you mentioned the migrant crisis. So I'll talk in the context of that. Specifically, I think initially the kind of calls that we get on the labor helpline were primarily related to information, like how do we make an Aadhaar card, how do we get access to a certain scheme, or there would be cases that required legal support, like bonded labor, forced labor, deaths or accidents at work, human trafficking, child labor. Here, though, suddenly with the lockdown, there was a huge increase in calls. We saw a lot of people, from this sudden shift of requiring information or legal support, we suddenly shifted to people needing food, a place to stay, and or just wanting to go home. And these were really immediate needs. And because of that, we kind of had to adapt our work a little bit. We had to we started collating lists of helplines, agencies that were working. It was definitely challenging when we're talking about the districts that we don't really work in. And then we started providing that monetary support, that food support ourselves too. Like either connecting them to agencies that could provide it or doing it ourselves. And I think like with the women's helpline, I think Deepa ji already covered this, but domestic violence, family conflicts, primarily, with alcohol abuse and all of that. Specifically, and I'll be very brief, like when we're talking about, the mental health work that we did, because we saw so much hopelessness and helplessness, and yeah, just going back to suicide, there was definitely an increase. We went from like 2 or 3 suicidal calls a month to 2 or 3 suicidal calls a week, which was quite an increase. So one major challenge that we had is the access. Like we know the pandemic kind of brought about a lot of mental health concerns, but the challenge here, like because we work with excluded and marginalized communities, is how do we really provide those services? And like one thing we did, we definitely shifted to telephonic counseling. But I think like Deepaji also mentioned, there are so many households that have like one phone. There's barely any private space where you can really provide that counseling. And that was a huge challenge for us. So we first started with training our professional counselors and our benefit counselors on how to provide sessions via call. We developed a protocol for it. And then, which basically addressed all of these challenges. Like what do you do when someone else picks up the call or when there's no network? We also trained our staff on identifying mental health concerns, even the field staff that were going for this ration support, as well as our helpline workers. So how can they identify, any signs of distress over call? How can they refer to us? And one thing that we ensured was basically self-care for themselves. Because like I mentioned, here we're going and providing support while, having our own anxieties about the pandemic, while working from home, which was a huge shift, which especially in our work, people aren't really used to. Like definitely some teams were able to adjust a little better because we work with a laptop, but like teams that are used to working in office or like on ground, for them it was a huge shift. Like that routine kind of changed. We, I think, developed a series of posters, especially relating to COVID-19 and mental health, which we used to kind of distribute in our circles to kind of increase awareness. Yeah, and I think we also developed a mental health policy during this time for our own staff because because we saw so much stress within our own field workers. And I think what Jansas really realized quite quickly was that both of these things really need to go hand in hand, like both the relief measures as well as the mental health support. Like it would be very difficult for us to provide counseling when there really is a need for food. How much can we really change? And it's extremely unfair to just provide that relief support without acknowledging or acting on the mental health concerns that we see. So I think both of these things and being able to provide both of these things is something that really helped us in our work.
Thank you, Apurva. That's an important point, that basic needs and mental health go hand in hand, and you can't have one without having the other, either way around. Thank you. I'm going to move to Divya. Divya, you are somebody with lived experience and a service user, and someone who runs Blue Dawn, which works with young people, young Bahujan people. I just wanted to know what has your experience been like? Has the number of people who access your Blue Dawn platform changed, or are there more of them? What are the kind of issues that come up? And I just wanted to get a feeling from you how caste-related discrimination might have also played a role in impacting young people's mental health, and in particular the suicide issue. So over to you, Divya.
Yeah, thank you, Soumitra. Jayandeep, everyone. So I would like to frame my answer in three parts. So first, answering in a direct way through Blue Dawn work. So people can access Blue Dawn services through our website. So there is a challenge in that people who speak English, people who have access to internet, are the people who get to access that service, right? That is a limitation that we have at Blue Dawn. So even with that aspect, we had a pouring number of requests from people, which was more than usual. If I have to say random numbers, so it would be like 5 people out of 10 in a non-pandemic situation. But during pandemic, it was around 15 people, we got requests every day, like a huge number of requests on daily basis. And that's something that we were also not expecting, right? Because this also happened after interacting with most of the people, we understood that it's also because they went back to their families, right? Most of them were studying at universities. They had hostels or PGs or friends, which they called a safe space, or chosen families that they had. And suddenly that they have to go back to families that are not understanding of their sexualities, or not great with understanding mental health per se, right? So majority of the people were also experiencing distress because they are amongst the abusive families, right? That has been one thing that we've noticed. And the other thing is that even though there are many requests, most of them just wanted to talk to anyone, right? And that had to be through chat or through emails, because they don't have space to access counseling at home, because the only way we could offer them any service is through telephone, because even the therapists that are linked with us are also practicing from work from home because of the lockdown. So most of them could not again access counseling per se, right? So the only option left was to have a community support, to just chat with people who are feeling similar way. And the third category that we've noticed is that there are people with suicidal ideation, is one good thing is that people understand that they have to express that they are ideating, right? Because seeking out for help or saying that, okay, I am having these thoughts, what should I do? And I'm in my house where I can't do anything to myself, but I have these thoughts. So this is something people were constantly articulating, and that articulating in itself as something that I've seen as a new phenomena in 2020, because it's we also need to take into account what's been happening in the country during 2020. It was not just pandemic, right? There was so much happening in the country. Especially the media has been so vile about how they articulate suicide per se, right? And the whole discussion around suicide has been there on the news for almost 3-4 months, and it had triggered a lot of emotions among a major portion of youth. And when it comes to especially youth coming from marginalized sections and from university spaces, there was this trigger that our people are actually dying every year, right? And the reason has been institutional casteism. The reason has been someone oppressing us on the basis of their caste location, and there is no acknowledgement of any sort about the deaths that happened before that because of the caste location. But again, 2020 witnessed something else happening on the news, so that has also been a major distress point as well. And yeah, and coming back to your question, so I think there has been a lot of ideation, but also there has been a lot of articulation in 2020, right? People started taking, people who have access to, again, like, smartphones and internet, they started talking about it on social media platforms or through their blogs or in WhatsApp groups, right? So that is just one minuscule of population. And there is this another category. We used to work with youth in tea gardens, West Bengal. And during what happened was, as soon as the lockdown was announced, it's all youth working in the tea estates, and all of them they lost their they do daily wage labor. They work in the tea gardens, and they lost their livelihood, right? As Apuro was saying, when we were also in a pickle, because the question there was to provide them something to eat, right? They have to provide for themselves, and they can't even travel so much. They can't sell their goods. The tea estate is closed. So this in such a situation, how do we go and say like we will offer mental health counseling, right? Because the situation there is the mental health counseling there would look like what it looked like there is मतलब उधर जाके उनको livelihood के लिए support करना is what mental health counseling would look like, right? So 2020 has taught us this one thing, that the language of mental health is very different from in like it comes in all forms and sizes, right? Not just a setup where someone is sitting in a clinic, that only that doesn't become a mental health space or whatever, right? This is something we've learned, that interacting with this youth on daily basis, just talking like, okay, did you get to do this today, or आप लोगों के goods sell हुए क्या? All these small things have become counseling sessions. All these small things have become what mental health, taking care of each other's mental health look like in 2020. And definitely it's so sad that we had to see there a lot of requests, right? Because it indicated a huge crisis amongst youth, and lack of safe spaces within family, right? So the households in itself have become toxic for a number of youth. And The other part that I wanted to also mention is again the role of media in inciting um, uh, suicidal ideation. I'm repeating my point, but 2020 has, I think, we really need to do something about Indian media and how they handle the issue of suicide, right? Because this is just a, like, see, Blue Dawn, we are based in Mumbai or Hyderabad, and people who have internet are speaking to us. That is just a small number of people, right? And imagine the scale of it. Even for that small section, we had to like speak to so many people. And the other challenge that we also faced is, so at Blue Dawn, what we do is we also provide sponsorships for therapy sessions. Or our therapy, it works in two ways. One is we facilitate the sponsorships for those who want to seek counseling. The other is we have a network of counselors who do pro bono services, who give us pro bono services. Because the 2020, not just pandemic, Indian economic situation was also at its highest low. Nobody could afford to give us pro bono services. People couldn't like sponsor sessions, right? So for us, it was a very challenging situation, because we had a increase in number of requests and a decrease in number of sponsors, right? So on an average, in a ideal situation, we would always get sponsors. If there are even like 3-4 sessions to be sponsored in one day, we would always get sponsors. But during 2020, that has also been a very big challenge. So this again brings us back to the question of mental health not being accessible in terms of even money, right? I don't know where to put the finger at it, because therapists have to survive. They will charge for the therapy sessions, but people, especially the Bahujan youth, I mean, an average session, from my experience, like even the lowest will start at 500. It's a decent service, right? So it's from, it ranges from 500 to 1500 rupees. It 2020 is happening. Pandemic was there. So again, that also is one more thing that I think we had to deal with during COVID. This whole time.
Thank you, Divya. I mean, I think from listening to all four of you coming from very different workspaces and backgrounds, what seems to me the two things that have got highlighted for me is, one is obviously the access issue, access to quality mental health care when people need it. And the second issue is obviously that you cannot deal with mental health without dealing with people's basic needs, and that these two things have to go hand in hand. I mean, this is all interesting, and I would love to continue. And I can see at my watch that we have about 6 minutes left. So what I'm going to do in the next 6 minutes is ask each one of you one by one, what is the way forward in terms of prevention, in terms of addressing these challenges? If you can take a minute and a half each and tell me what are the challenges. I'm going to start with Lakshmi, especially her point, which was that why is suicide not such a big issue on our policy makers' minds? Lakshmi?
Yeah.
Lakshmi, are you there?
I think we should have a groundswell of movement to address this and make sure that the policymakers listen to the voice of the people. And the most important thing is policy can make a difference. So we are talking about such a mental health issue related to COVID. But I can tell you one statistics, right? See, every year we lose about 2,500 students because they have failed in the exams. Okay. In this pandemic year, when all the exams were cancelled, from the papers, and we are having only about 25 suicides, which means 2,500 young lives have been changed because of the stress of the exam is there. So this goes to show that we need a policy change at the educational level, because every year you can't lose 2,500 young students because they have failed in the exams. So there has to be, so that what I'm saying is we need policy initiatives, we need political will, and we need the groundswell of pupil movement to insist on the politicians, the policymakers, and the bureaucrats that this is an important issue at the ground level and you have to do something about it.
Thank you, Lakshmi. That was very quick. Turning to you, Apurva, how can we make these suicide prevention services accessible to the kind of communities you work with? With migrant labor, and maybe you want to kind of suggest some ways forward what we should be doing.
Right. So I think what's important to keep in mind here is that the pandemic basically highlighted issues that already existed, right? And just like in the context of our webinar, healthcare, housing, food security, job security, these are all ways to prevent suicide. And I think it's very, very essential that we basically ensure that these basic needs are met rather than being criminalized. Like wanting to go home was criminalized with the example of the migrant workers. And also understanding this in terms of being a human right to life, liberty, security. I think accessibility, like you're talking about, is very important. But also just going back to a point that you made, it's not just about accessibility to services, it's about accessibility to quality services. So we need to make sure that services are representative, they're inclusive, they're contextualized to the populations that we work with. And I know that we talk a lot about about talking and breaking the silence, which is all very important. But alongside awareness, we also need to ensure that we're equipping people to listen and respond. That's something that really needs to happen. Of course, awareness about like the myths and misconceptions that really prevent people from seeking help. We need to make sure that we're supplementing these awareness initiatives with like self-care tools, self-help tools, basically just because we know that there aren't as many professionals as people need services. And also just like working in a grassroots setting, I know that we also need to look at alternative models. We need to train frontline workers. We need to, community workers basically, and basic counseling skills. We need to make our, so that it's also sustainable. We need to also look at making schools trauma informed and our own organizations too, because when we shift the lens from like punishing behavior and labeling behavior as problematic to understanding what people need to heal, that is a huge shift, which I think is very important when it comes to working with young people, especially with young people from marginalized communities, because we know that they're at risk. So that is something that I think we can do. And of course, starting with our own organizations, pushing for trauma-informed care in general, actually. We can use existing platforms like Anganwadis, SHGs to also train people to identify, to basically recognize and respond to mental health concerns. Because like I mentioned, it's not just enough to tell people to talk, we also need to equip people to listen and respond. So that's something that I think would be very important. I think Deepa has already mentioned it when she was talking, but like using principles of community mental health, community care to basically decentralize mental health. We need to make sure that our services are decolonized, just so that they're inclusive and basically just rooted in our context. Helplines are great. Toll-free helplines are a really great tool. I just think, provided people have access to phones and privacy. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I think should be the way forward.
Thank you.
It's not only helplines, we have helplines. The fact is, in Sneha, we didn't even have a moment to keep the phone down. So we had many people complaining that we are not able to access the line. And with the reduced workforce, we know that there were many people who were disappointed that they were not able to get it. They used to write letters saying, you call yourself suicidal, I am suicidal, I am trying to call you, I'll become suicidal trying to call you, because your line is constantly engaged, So it is the dearth of services which is really a huge factor. Soumitra, I really am sorry. It was fascinating listening to all of you, but I have to join another webinar at 5 sharp. And
Lakshmi, you go ahead. We are going to continue with Deepa, but thank you so much for making the time and being with us, Lakshmi.
Thank you.
Yeah. Deepa, if I can turn to you and ask you, with the different organizations, आप जो अपने संगठन के साथ जो ग्राउंड लेवल पे काम कर रहे हो युवा के साथ, तो सेल्फ हार्म और सुसाइड एड्रेस करने के लिए आप क्या रिकमेंडेशंस करेंगी गोइंग फॉरवर्ड? अगर मैं आपको कहूं कि 1-2 मिनट में आप समराइज करिए कि आप क्या कर सकते हैं या आप जैसी संस्थाएं क्या कर सकती है?
यस, तो बस आपको दुरुस्त करती हूँ, मैं अनुभूति के साथ काम करती हूँ। और कई सारे हैं एक्चुअली इस तरह के रास्ते जो मुझे लगता है कि अगर राइट इंटरवेंशन हो वहां पे, तो मुझे लगता है कि सुसाइड जो है ना वो एक ट्रैवल है, एक सफर है। अगर वो सफर के बीच में इम्पैक्ट करने वाले परिणाम करने वाले घटक अगर संवेदनशील हो, इन्फ्लुएंस करने वाले घटक के पास अगर लिटरेसी हो, तो हम सुसाइड प्रिवेंट कर सकते हैं। तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट में 2-3 मुद्दे मुझे लगते हैं कि ऑब्वियस पॉलिटिकल विल विद पॉलिटिकल लिटरेसी अबाउट मेंटल हेल्थ कॉन्टेक्स्ट, कि पॉलिटिकल इच्छा शक्तियों को मेंटल हेल्थ ये ऐसा मुद्दा क्यों लगता है कि वो इतनी इजीली उसको साइड कर सकते हैं। तो उसके बारे में कमिटमेंट बढ़ाने की जरूरत काफी लगती है कि वो उनके एजेंडा में के बाकी के मुद्दों के बराबरी का हकदार है मेंटल हेल्थ ये मुद्दा। तो वो एक बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी लगता है। यूथ कॉन्टेक्स्ट में काम करते हुए एजुकेशन सिस्टम बहुत ही बुलंद इंस्टीट्यूशंस का है, डिसीजंस मेकर का है जो है, जहां पे अगर वो संवेदनशील रहे, इस तरह का एक वेलबींग का एटीट्यूड अगर एजुकेशन सिस्टम में और इच्छा शक्ति हो। जैसे एनएसएस कैंप के अंदर हम कई सारी चीजों को लेकर काम करते हैं, लेकिन अगर वो मेंटल हेल्थ के मतलब स्वच्छ अभियान तक का काम वो करते हैं, गांव की साफ सफाई तक का काम अगर वो करते हैं, और युवा काफी एंथ्यू है, वो मेंटल हेल्थ को लेकर काम जब हम उनके साथ बात करते हैं तब वो बताते हैं कि हमें इस तरह के विषयों को लेकर काम करना है। तो ऑलरेडी जो एग्जिस्टिंग एक सोशल लीडरशिप में युवाओं के ग्रुप है, उनको हम मेंटल हेल्थ कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जो है एक मतलब साक्षरता प्रदान करते हुए, उनको ट्रेनिंग करते हुए, एक बेसिक जानकारी लेते हुए, एक चेन सिस्टम की तरह बाकी युवाओं के साथ जो है वो लगातार काम कर सकते हैं। कम्युनिटी के अंदर जिस तरह से मेडिकल केयर की बाकी फैसिलिटीज पहुंच रही है, मैं फिर से कहूंगी कि मेंटल हेल्थ केयर के लिए कम्युनिटी जो है वो अपना कैपिटल बढ़ाए, इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट को बहुत ही ज्यादा जिम्मेदार होने की जरूरत है। मैं जिस ग्रुप के साथ काम करती हूँ वो एनटीडीएनटी के ग्रुप है, वहां पे हमेशा एक एग्जिस्टिंग थेरेपी या इंस्टीट्यूशन से चलने वाली ही जो जिसे हम कहीं ट्रीटमेंट है या काउंसलिंग है वो वहां पे काम नहीं करेगी। तो बहुत ज्यादा स्कोप है हमें एक अलग कल्चर के, अलग हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड से आने वाली कम्युनिटी के मेंटल हेल्थ को समझकर उसके ऊपर उपाय योजना करने की। तो मुझे लगता है कि खास करके एनटीडीएनटी पॉपुलेशन भारत के अंदर करीबन 15% है। 15 से 18 करोड़ का जिनका जनसंख्या है, उनके मेंटल हेल्थ और ट्रीटमेंट उपचार प्रतिबंध के बारे में काफी स्कोप है बात करने के लिए। तो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है, पॉलिटिकल लिटरेसी है, कम्युनिटी मेंटल हेल्थ काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है, कई सारी चीजें हैं। और हम जैसे एनजीओ को, जैसे मैंने कहा कि पैंडेमिक में हमें काम करना मुश्किल जाता अगर हमारे पास ट्रेंड युवा, एक बेसिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ट्रेंड युवा ना होते, जैसे जो जेंडर को जानते हैं, जो कास्ट हायरार्की को जानते हैं। तो लगातार मेंटल हेल्थ ये कोई सिर्फ अवेयरनेस का सब्जेक्ट नहीं है, इसमें सच में कैपेसिटी बिल्ड हो सकती है। तो एक लगातार इंटरवेंशन हम किस तरह से करते रहे बाय एजुकेशन सिस्टम, और जो स्टेक होल्डर डिसीजन मेकर्स है, जिस तरह से अपूर्वा ने भी कहा कि पुलिस है, डॉक्टर है, टीचर्स है, जो डिसीजन मेकिंग के प्रोसेस में भी आते हैं, जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर भी है, और कभी कभी वो उनके पावर से यूज भी कर सकते हैं। वहां पे मेंटल डिग्निटी के बारे में, मेंटल लिटरेसी के बारे में शायद पहुंचना हमारा चैलेंज होने वाला है।
Thank you, Deepa. And finally, and last, coming to Divya. Divya, I just wanted your thoughts going forward, and maybe in the next couple of minutes that you can speak about is how do we ensure equitable inclusion? How do we ensure that marginalized communities or oppressed communities are included? How do we ensure service users are included as we go ahead in all this prevention work for suicide prevention?
So, to say it in a very simple words, I would say कि when we are talking about suicide and suicide prevention, we are focusing on the individual who is attempting or who is ideating suicide, rather than focusing on what is making them ideate, who is responsible for this person to have such thoughts, right? So I feel we need to, at Blue Dawn also we use this hashtag called reverse the gaze, and I think that is one of the starting ways to start looking at what are the institutions that are making people go through this, because I believe that suicide is something, it's not, or any mental health concern is, it's not something that's wrong in our body, it's something that wrong in the society which is making us feel that way, right? It's just our body's response to the distress that is being induced on me. So I feel all mental health professionals need to acknowledge that very fact to begin with, right? Because they are the people who will be there to support people going through distress. And the second thing I also feel, on a very theoretical level, I feel that our Indian psychiatry as well as psychology need to uh, actually be Indian, right? When I say that, we need to develop, we need to I, we need to develop our own language that communities around us actually speak. Okay, there is DSM, I understand. There are illnesses in DSM. Okay, great, but this is India, which is diverse. We have caste, class, gender. There is so much to deal with on our ground. So it's again, to begin with, we need, like, our psychiatry and psychology should first go to the ground and seek knowledge from the people that already have developed knowledge, right? So we worked with this wonderful group of youth at Tea Gardens. So we went there, like, oh, okay, हम लोग जाके mental health workshop करेंगे. But in return, we've learned so much within first 2 days of the workshop to begin with. So, and one thing that I've noticed also is that the community have their own wisdom. That community know how to respond to distress. That community already defined what mental health is or what it meant for them. So we went actually during the CANRC protest. So we asked them what does mental health mean to you, right? So the responses were like not having CANRC implemented on them. And one person also said having doctor in front of their name, that is getting educated and getting a PhD degree is what a good mental health would look like to them, right? So the community and the people already know what they want, and their bodies already know how to respond to distress situation, right? So I feel this whole I'm sorry for this, but I feel all of us in this social sector need to come down from our pedestal thinking that we are saving someone, but we need to step down and seek develop what's already been with the communities, right? We are only facilitators to them. We need to support what they're already doing, rather than, like, giving them more alien words that some white men wrote long back. I'm sorry for being cynical, but that's what I feel. And the other thing is, again, as you mentioned, Soumitra, the quality of when we saying equitable, right? Equitable माने हम लोग, I can say access, but the access again is very subjective, right? As Sneha's Lakshmi was saying, there is a helpline service, but it's understaffed. So there are many people calling and the line is still busy. So again, when I think that's where we also that is a very common situation, right? How many helplines will we begin? Like, we can't have one like so many helplines also, right? Because there are very few mental health professionals in India. So again, we need to go back to what the community already knows, that is community healing and community liberation. I keep repeating these words, but this is what I've learned working with people, and I myself will like come from a lived experience of suicide and everything. So I believe what's more important is the acknowledgement from mental health setup in India, that this person is caliber of navigating their own issues, and we just need to provide tools for them to navigate that issue, right? Rather than patronizing them, like, okay, and diagnosing them with random words that they won't know, right? I'm only speaking on very theoretical level, right? And again, coming back to the practicality, two more points I would like to add from Blue Dawn's experience is that when when people can survive in universities without getting mocked that they come from reservation, and without getting vilified or because of their caste location, they can survive the university without having to die, right? So that is also suicide prevention. Basically, I believe in Baba Saheb's words, educate, educate, organize, and the need for annihilation of caste, right? And again, this doesn't, people don't take it. This is, I'm very frustrated right now, maybe. It's just that the social sector in India also need to acknowledge that while we do all of this, all of it in a larger spectrum is one little contribution towards annihilation of caste. Like, we need to do that, right? Otherwise, I don't know what is the need of having so many helplines, so many workshops, so many community programs, if the community is always going to get lynched at the end of the day because of their caste location. What is the point of them getting counseling for years if they one day are getting lynched on road, right? So this is a larger, again, question of what does mental health work mean to us as social sector people or mental health professionals, right? So again, that being the ultimate thing that I would always say is that we need to work towards annihilating these very structures that are making people think of suicide, right? Be it poor economy, be it again like caste system, be it patriarchy and capitalism, all of it, right? So I feel Indians. I will just end it this with this line that I feel Indian psychiatry and psychology and social sector at large need to revolutionize towards towards the ideas of anti-caste leaders and many other revolutionary leaders, and start taking that into their practice.
Thank you. Thank you, Divya. That was a good note to end it on. Apurva, you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I think in a nutshell, when you're talking about these professions, I think it's really important for us to shift that focus or shift that lens from like an individualistic lens to a systemic lens. And that
Right.
is the change that definitely needs to come out.
Thank you, everybody. And I know we've gone a little bit over time, so thank you for staying back. I really wanted to thank Divya and Deepa and Apurva for making the time and being here. And Lakshmi had to go to another seminar, and that's how life is for a lot of us at the moment. I'm going to take 30 seconds and just try and summarize some of these things. I think the points that many of you made, which was that you have to locate these conversations into the broader social context in which things are happening, and that a narrow clinical focus or a narrow medical focus is not the way forward. And I mean, we in our program Outlive and in this program which was organized by us, you'll notice that we had a lot of ground voices, which is all of you. Rather than having clinicians talk, and we had one suicide prevention expert, but 3 people who come from the ground level. So that is what we believe in too, that we need to enable the voices of lived experience and voices of people who are working at the ground level to be heard more clearly. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for those who have been watching this. The next series, do keep an eye out for the next seminar in this series, which will be advertised on our sites. And I'm going to stop here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.